God, this thing just should not be able to grip the way it does. Special treat today, boys and girls. We got 2023 Toyota GR Corolla, 2022 Hyundai Elantra N. We're gonna compare these two on this wet, muddy, and kind of suboptimal road. Which one do you guys think is gonna win? Which do you think is best? I'm using improper grammar because I'm trying to be British. Like those British car reviewers, they got two cars. They say, which is best, not which is better. Vote up here in this card. $38,000, fully loaded core model with the performance pack, the tech pack, and the weather pack. You definitely need the performance pack for $1,200 because you get the LSD front and rear. That car is 33 grand. Is this worth the extra cheddar? Let's find out. If you guys haven't already, I have done a dedicated GR Corolla video you can watch up here, and I also compared it to my Toyota GR 6. Before we start our shenanigans, let's turn that traction control all the way off. Traction off, stability and collision off, and we're gonna put this into 30/70. By default, you have 60/40. We're gonna go 30/70 because we want a little more dynamic kind of driving feel, a little bit more rotation, a little bit more rear bias. This car feels very much purposeful today. Rally car on this semi-rally road. God, these conditions are garbage. All right, right off the bat, steering feel, not quite teeming with feedback. Not the best EPS I've used. The seating position is also quite high. It feels very Corolla, not very sporty. Civic Type R really has you nice and slung low. This one is a little bit more pedestrian, civilian, if you will. Easy to rev match downshift. I really like this this gear shift. It's a little bit more mechanical than the GR86, a little bit longer throws, but it's very satisfying to use. Clutch has a moderate amount of feel, not too bad. But the thing that surprised me driving up this road was the grip, the capability, the stability of this vehicle. We have 235 section width all around, square setup, PS4 tires. And this thing is just like, look at this. All right, there we go. Finally getting some rotation. When we were driving this in Vegas, it was so stable, we couldn't get the rear end to break loose. But here in the wet, we could get a little bit of more dynamic inputs, which I'm enjoying. A little bit of rotation under throttle on these lower speed turns. The car weighs 3,269 pounds, and the 1.6 turbo pushes out 300 horsepower, 273 pound-feet of torque. It feels very adequate, very balanced for this car. The car has a spirit, more so than the Civic Type R and the Elantra N, of being far more rally car, you know? Here we go. Oh my God, the grip. I can't quite get the tail up, but you can tell from the throttle, the rear end is helping you rotate ever so slightly, and then the front end is pulling you as well. Very stable car. It feels so rally. Even the immense turbo lag, the whooshes, it's all it's very much congruent through and through. It feels rally car, it drives rally car. God, this thing is just so, it makes it easy. It makes it easy. Throttle response is a little bit inconsistent. Part of that is this engine does have more substantial turbo lag than some other vehicles, and when you're, depending on where in the rev range you are, you need to give it more or less throttle input to rev match, which, you know, you can get used to as you own the car. God, this thing just should not be able to grip the way it does. This is insane. Not much engine note in here. I can barely hear. I mean, I'm relying on the actual gauge cluster to turn red to tell me I'm hitting red line, because I can barely hear the engine. Suspension is actually quite well tuned. It's not It's not too stiff like the Civic Type R. It's not too soft where you lose body control. It's very well set up. Good body control, not too much roll in the corners, not too much diving when under braking. It feels very rally car. I keep coming back to that term, but that's the best way to summarize this car. It's so rally car. The turbo lag, the whoosh noises, the blow off. But the way this thing just puts down grip on suboptimal surfaces, even with PS4 rubber, is really impressive. Very eager to rotate, a pretty small and short car. Much more so than the Civic Type R. And it makes it feel nimble, it makes it feel agile. In Vegas, on those dry surfaces, I felt that the car was a little bit boring, but here, this is what this car was made for. These windy roads, suboptimal conditions, this is fun. This is great. It's still very much easy mode for the driver though. It's not actually challenging to drive this car quick, which doesn't make it, it's not necessarily a good or bad thing. It depends on how you look at that. So I believe that part of true driver engagement, reward, and fun is actually being challenged a little bit. And you can definitely, you push this harder and harder, you can approach that limit, but it makes driving fast so easy that a monkey could do it. And there is some fun and joy in that. It's like, it makes you kind of giddy that you can just throw this thing around and it's gonna hook up, it's gonna grip. It's just so capable. Very satisfying gear shift. I really do like it. Very easy to double clutch downshift. Buttery smooth. Again, double clutching obviously not required in a car like this with synchros, but it's a nice way just to test throttle response and the overall transmission. Yeah, buttery smooth double clutches. We like that. Woo-hoo-hoo! Top of third. All right, we should slow down. This car is just so capable, guys. I'm actually really surprised how the personality changes so much from those dry, slightly higher speed sweepers in Vegas versus this wet and lower speed road in Livermore. It really brings out different elements, a different character of the car. I'm actually enjoying it far more than I expected. And it's actually the same as the model that we drove in Vegas, in that it's the core fully loaded with the weather package, performance package, tech package, the most important of which, of course, the performance package with the LSDs. So even though this is far more expensive than the Elantra N, $39K fully loaded, starts at MSRP of $37K, and then with all the options, $39K. I mean, this is still very good value in terms of performance. The practicality is, let's just say it's a bit compromised compared to its competitors. But with that being said, let's hop into the Elantra N and see how it compares. All right, it's Elantra N time, but before we do that, let's just appreciate the styling here. If you're a 16-year-old boy, you probably think both of these cars look amazing, but let's be real, this has a face that only a mother could love. I wish that they did the bumper in full body paint, not this black. It's a bit overstyled. You got the triangle dent here. The GR Corolla, I wouldn't say is beautiful, but I think this is gonna be, it's probably gonna age a little bit better than the Elantra N in my honest opinion. Big thanks to Andre. Check out his Instagram handles below. Show him some love. I like the triple exhaust. The car all dirtied up. Feels very rally. The Elantra N, also a very practical car. We got the roof racks. We got the child seat. This is actually a far more practical car. It's larger, it's longer, more rear seat room, larger trunk. Even though this is a hatch, you don't actually have that much usable space. And with that out of the way, let's see how she drives. Both examples are stock today, except this has a spacer on the throttle to push it further to the brake pad and also closer to the driver. Zero clutch feel on this, by the way, unlike the Corolla. And also the gear shift, I can already tell you right off the bat, is looser, a little bit less precise, less mechanical Not as strong as in the Corolla. Pretty long throws here too, longer than in the Corolla. Oh my goodness, this road. This road, boys. The winter storms were not kind to the Bay Area. We're in normal mode right now. Let's actually get it into N mode. Custom 1, actually, with ESC disabled. There we go. We're pretty aggressive on everything except suspension is Sport, not Sport Plus, because this road is pretty bumpy. There we go. Inline 4 turbocharged, pushing out 276 horsepower, 286 pound-feet of torque. The car is underrated because when you put it on a dyno, it's actually putting out close to that amount to the wheels. These are both pretty quick cars. They're closely matched in terms of acceleration performance. The Civic Type R is a little bit faster than both. The weight of this car compared to the GR Corolla is also comparable. This is 3,186 pounds compared to the Corolla's 3,269. And right now, while it's raining and we have low traction conditions, the all-wheel drive system on that GR Corolla really shines. I've been getting some wheel hop on this when I'm accelerating from lower speeds. It puts the traction down decently well. That ELSD working its magic. But I am getting a little bit of torque steer. It's not a lot. It's not quite as well managed as the Civic Type R. Oh, I gotta say, I do not like the spacer. It makes heel toe, it just feels a little bit abnormal. Yeah, I would prefer the regular spacing. I guess it depends on the driver. I have larger feet, I wear size 13, so it just feels pretty awkward. And it requires, I mean, unless you have real limitations with your ankle dorsiflexion, you can't bend your foot up like that to actually get the throttle. I don't think there's a need for this. Both of these cars, the GR Corolla and the Elantra N, have some notable turbo lag. And the throttle response on both is also a bit variable as a result. I definitely enjoy and prefer the GR Corolla's manual transmission more so than this. Right now in N mode, we're getting some of those pops and crackles from the exhaust. In the GR Corolla, the engine's actually very quiet. The engine here is a little bit louder, which I appreciate. You can actually hear it. You don't need to rely exclusively on the gauge to see when to shift when you're hitting red line. Yeah, I really don't like this throttle spacer. Unnecessary. Woohoo! Getting that torque steer. No torque steer on the GR Corolla. That's an all-wheel drive setup, and we were doing 30-70 there as well. With all the power to the front wheels here, it's also more challenging to get rotation. Well, you definitely can't get rotation on throttle input. You really have to use weight transfer to do so. Now, when I tried the rev matching mode, it's not very smooth. So let's go here to rev matching on Sport Plus. Woohoo, wheel hop. Oh, it is so jerky, guys. The rev match on this is not nearly as sophisticated as the Civic Type R or the GR Corolla. I actually tested the GR Corolla's rev matching in my previous video, and over here I'll just say that it's not very good, but here's the thing, who cares, man? I don't understand why people want rev matching when you buy a manual transmission. That's part of the fun. Part of the reason you buy the manual transmission is because you want to do your own rev matching. Otherwise, just get the DCT. There we go. The DCT, the 8-speed on this is actually not bad from what I've heard. I haven't driven it yet. And I think part of the reason people are saying go with either is is because the 6-speed manual is not the most rewarding or engaging to drive. I do love the steering on this though. The steering is definitely better than the GR Corolla in terms of loading up on corners. As I get the weight over the front, I can really feel this get heavy. I can feel a little bit more feedback, a little bit more texture from the road in this car as well, which is impressive because normally with front-wheel drive vehicles, well, exclusively front-wheel drive vehicles, the GR Corolla is obviously sending some power to the front as well. I find that steering tends to suffer, but both cars are doing a decent job here. I'd give the edge to the Elantra N. Now the GR Corolla is on PS4 rubber 235. This is PS4S 245, and it's actually specific to Hyundai. That's why it has the HN on the tire sidewalls. And both cars are very capable. Both cars are impressing me with their grip and their performance on a road like this. But the GR Corolla inspires more confidence. The way it just hooks up and puts the power down with that all-wheel drive system, that GR4 is what they call it. It's very impressive. This car is capable too, but obviously with the front wheels being driven, you're not going to have that same level of performance edge compared to an all-wheel drive system, especially in conditions like this. Let's give it the frijoles. Being nice to the clutch, this is not my car. Oh, holy wheel hop! Not ideal traction conditions, obviously, but once we hooked up, the car accelerates pretty quickly. It's not lacking for power. The balance here, the power to weight ratio, the way it feels, the gear ratios even, are all fairly dialed in. Nothing really sticking out as a sore spot there. The question you have to ask yourself though is, this car is $34,000, add $1,500 if you want the DCT. And the GR Corolla is starting at $37,000 for the core, but you need to have that performance package, so add another $1,200, $38K. And the question is, for $4,000, which one do you think is better? This one has a little bit more space. By the way, I love this oh shit handle right here, although it feels pretty cheap, I gotta say. The interior on both don't feel optimal. This one has a little bit more piano black, feels a little bit cheaper, although the GR Corolla isn't really impressing with its interior space either. The Civic Type R, on the other hand, does feel like a class above both of these. One other thing I forgot to mention is that the seats on this are actually, in my opinion, better than in the GR Corolla. You have more lateral support, you have a nice grippy Alcantara or faux suede surface here. And although the shoulders are a little bit tight for some people, I'm 6'1", 170 pounds, I think it's pretty supportive and pretty well dialed in. Not as good as the Civic Type R though. We do have to appreciate that as car enthusiasts, we have these options. We have the Elantra N, we have the GR Corolla, we have the Civic Type R, because no matter which one you choose, they're all pretty great in their own respective way. In terms of which one is more fun, today, on this road, in these conditions, not surprisingly, I'd give it to the GR Corolla. But on dry conditions, I'm not so sure. This is a little bit more playful than the Civic Type R. It's not as serious, and compared to the base model Elantra, which has torsion beam, they added multi-link rear suspension here, which obviously improves the driving dynamics a lot. They also added stiffer rear bushings, which helps the car rotate. So again, driving this on drier surfaces, I'm not sure how this would compare to the GR Corolla, but maybe that's for another video. If you want your cars reviewed, then check out JubbalAndCars.com. We review cars in California, in Las Vegas. Big thanks to Fenton from the Zygreen YouTube channel for making this comparison possible. Check out Andre's Instagram and socials down in the description below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Much love, my friends, and I'll see you guys in that next one.